Here we are at episode 11 of After School with Mr. Van Huss, and this is one that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. Today I have three guests on my show. They're a musical trio, and they are some of the sweetest, nicest, and most talented people you will ever meet in your life. I am so happy to welcome today Brenna, Eli, and Daniel, Troubadour Blue. Welcome to After School with Mr. Van Huss. I have a numerous guests here today as I have all the members of Troubadour Blue, and it is so good to see you guys. How's my favorite trio doing?
We're doing great.
Doing great.
Excellent. So good to see you guys. For anybody that may be watching this that may not know who Troubadour Blue is, I'll give you guys a second to introduce yourselves and just tell us what it is that you do.
Who wants to go?
I got it.
All right.
We are Troubadour Blue. We're a touring band here in Nashville, Tennessee. Brenna and Eli, my bandmates, are from Mount Juliet, so they're from the area. I grew up in Southern California and Texas, and we are full-time musicians and artists and songwriters, making it work, paying the bills.
Woohoo!
And for anybody that has never heard your work, I will this time and probably again encourage people to go out, download your music, stream your music, check you out at a live show because whatever, you guys are amazing. And I've been very happy to have known you the last couple of years. You guys came to our Every Kid is a Hero Day last year, which was awesome. Some of my former students still talk about Classroom-a-Palooza that we had last year when you all played a couple of songs for them, and that left an impact. So I've always appreciated not only how talented you guys are, but the fact that you give back to things like this. And y'all are wonderful people, if I haven't said that before.
Well, thank you.
And we feel the same about you.
Yeah,
thank you very
absolutely.
much. I appreciate that. So starting out, what influenced you guys to do what you do? What made the three of you want to be musicians and singer-songwriters?
Good,
Eli,
Brenna.
you want me to go first? Okay.
Well, you can go for the band, and then we can talk about it individually.
Okay. That's bold that he's giving me the voice for the band. I think as a band, we all love music and we love listening to music. And a couple of years ago, I think we all felt that there was a space in kind of Americana country music that we felt we would fit into, or we would be able to make music that filled a hole. So that's what I would say Troubadour Blue kind of formed out of. We wanted to make music that we loved, that we thought that there was a space for, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I'll go for my life story. I'll say my life story right now. No, but I was put into Brenna and I are siblings, so we were both put into violin lessons at a very early age by our parents. They just wanted us to be musical, so they put us in. I hated it. I hated violin, and I made a deal with them, and I was like, okay, well, when I get to a certain place, I want to play guitar. Is that okay? And they were like, sure. So I did violin for a while, and then I transitioned to learning guitar and learned bluegrass guitar at my local music shop. Nothing fancy, and loved it. And then I went to college, and I decided, you know what? I don't want to do this music thing. And I went to college for business and started a little band when I was at school. I went to Elon University in North Carolina and started playing around, just playing covers. And then I realized, man, I really love this, and I really feel like I have something to say. So I started writing, and I just learned that, yeah, this is what I want to do because it's what I'm passionate about. And thankfully, I'm good enough that some people listen. And then I came back to Nashville, and the band asked me to join. And I was like, absolutely, mostly because I didn't have anything going on. But I'm so glad I did. And yeah, that's my story. That's probably why I'm chasing after music. So,
Eli, will you say what the name of your band was in college?
oh gosh, not named by me. It wasn't named by me, but my band name was Eli Wheeler and the Eli Wheeler Band. Yeah, just
Which we're
a
considering
genius.
maybe changing Troubadour Blue.
Yeah, yeah. This is So if anybody's looking for band names, just use your name twice, and it'll be great.
It's direct. It gets the point across.
Oh man.
Daniel,
You know,
how'd you
you
get
go.
into it?
I grew up similar to them. I grew up playing piano at a really young age. My mom forced me to learn, and I hated it, like all kids do. And so the deal that my parents made me was, growing up in Southern California in the Long Beach like Metro School District. I think in third grade they introduced string orchestra as part of like school curriculum if you want to be in it. Um, so my mom was like, you can quit the piano if you learn an orchestra instrument. And so I started playing the cello in elementary school, and so I played that all the way through high school. And then we moved to Texas when I was in junior high, and I started playing guitar, and so then played in rock bands all through high school and stuff, and was playing in clubs and things. And I came to Nashville for college from Austin, and I moved to Nashville to be a guitar player. I wanted to be a session player and a touring guitar player. That's what I wanted to do. And about a year into school at Belmont, where I was a vocal performance major, and I was studying guitar, like taking elective courses and playing shows and stuff. I just kind of hit a point about a year in where I was like, I don't want to play other people's songs all the time. Like I don't want that to be my whole life. And I'd been writing songs. I wrote songs in high school, and I'd been writing a little bit my freshman year, but my guitar teacher had told me not, my professor had told me not in like a dismissive way, but he was like, look, if you don't want to play other people's songs, you just have to write better songs than them. And I was like, okay. And so I started co-writing, and Nashville kind of does what Nashville does, and I got welcomed into the songwriting community at Belmont and then on Music Row, and it's led us to being in this band. And during college, actually, Brenna and I were in a school ensemble together. We were in the bluegrass ensemble together, where Tammy was our professor. So that's how we all got together, and we graduated and started the band and been running ever since.
And you're obviously referencing the amazing Tammy Rogers, who is a member of the Steel Drivers and has gone on to produce you guys, and as a distant relative of mine. So that was kind of one of the first connections that we all had together. Brenna, obviously the violin lessons kind of stuck with you, I guess.
The violin lesson stuck. I started when I was 3, just like Eli. I did not like it because what 3-year-old does? But I wasn't savvy enough to strike a deal with my parents. I was just like, okay, I guess I have to do this forever. But then when I was like 12 or 13, my parents sent me and my sister to a fiddle camp. And I was like, wait a second, this is fun. So I kind of shifted my focus because I was primarily doing classical. And then we started adding in fiddle lessons. And then I like completely switched to just fiddle. And I went to Belmont where Daniel and I met. And at Belmont, you have to do classical and fiddle. So I was grateful to have my classical background. Yeah, I knew that I wanted to do music. I wasn't sure in what capacity. I knew that I could play the fiddle. I wasn't half bad. So I did that, and I was a violin major. And so, yeah, I did that for 4 years. Was in the bluegrass ensemble with Daniel. When I got out, I was playing with friends, going on the road. I also was like, I kind of don't want to play your songs all the time. But at that point, I wasn't really writing songs. I just knew that there was something more. And so Daniel and I kind of reconnected. I don't know, through Tammy, actually. She was like, you guys should just see what each other are doing. And so he was like, well, Brenna, let's write songs then. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's just how it formed. We started writing songs, and then it was like, oh, okay, these are kind of cool. Should we just like start a band? And here we are.
Very cool. So before you got into this, before you became professional musicians and singers yourself, who were some of your heroes? Daniel, we can start with you on this one.
Before music, like just as a kid?
Yeah, just who you grew up listening to, like music wise.
Oh, the Eagles. I really loved the Eagles from a young age. My dad always had my dad was born in the 50s, so he's a little older than most of my friends' parents, but that means that I grew up with, all of the early British invasion stuff. So like obviously the Stones and the Beatles, but also like the Zombies and the Animals and the Monkeys, I grew up listening to a lot of Motown. I really loved, the Four Tops and the Temptations and Diana Ross. Um, my biggest heroes, especially when I started playing the guitar, and then I would argue became my most influential people were, you move to Austin and you either try to emulate Willie Nelson or Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I just did everything I could in high school to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so SRV to Clapton and John Mayer and really those guys, I like really came to love the like guitar gods. um and then I moved to Nashville, and obviously your tastes change and you become a professional, but as a teenager it was all the very guitar focused music.
Okay. Eli, what about you? What did you grow up on?
Well, similar to Daniel, my dad's music taste influenced mine heavily. So I would listen to he would like make CDs that were essentially mixtapes, and we'd listen to him in the car. And he was a child of the 60s, and he so like early 70s soft rock is, I know almost every song. Like I feel like, I mean, I don't, but any of the top ones. Like I love James Taylor, in that sort of singer songwriter lane, and then maybe like Al Green in the soul lane. Like I just all around the sort of pop of the early 70s. But I would say a hero of mine was maybe threefold. I was a big fan, still am, but I was a big fan of Dylan, Bob Dylan's writing style growing up, and like I said, still am. John Mayer. I really was influenced by John Mayer and his writing and guitar playing. And then there was a band in my later high school years, probably when I discovered them when I was like maybe 14 or 15, called Dawes, and they're a band out of Southern California, and I just really love their songwriting and everything about them. So those were my like heroes in different lanes. I'd say growing up.
All right. Brenna, who was yours?
Gosh, many. The first CD I ever remember being gifted was for my sister, and it was the Carrie Underwood CD. It was like her first one. And as a little girl, you're just like, this is so cool. I want to be like her. So that was I think maybe sparked my entertainer brain, where like I truly love to be on stage and perform. And this at the same time, we had like three CDs. It was Carrie Underwood, the Brad Paisley. I think it was the Time Well Wasted CD, which I wore out. I loved that CD. And I think I had the first Taylor Swift CD, which is hilarious. Um, Anyways, those people I think kind of interest me in country music, because while I grew up in Nashville, I was very much we were listening to classical music because it was part of the method of how I was learning. But then once I got old enough, really like once I started sitting in the front seat of the car, I was in charge of what we're listening to. So that's when we really started listening to country music. Another one would be Vince Gill. When Eli and I were younger, we were in a band together, just the two of us. And I just remember we found the song "Go Rest High on That Mountain," and I was like, "This is ouch, ouch, this hurts." But it's like it's also just a beautiful song. I love Vince Gill. He's amazing. And then same as Eli, 70s music. I love 70s music. Just yeah, because my dad would listen to it, and so we would listen to it. Yeah.
I have like a safe playlist on my phone that's like my school playlist that I play a lot in class, like in between classes, just stuff like that. A lot of times I like to have music playing. and all the stuff you all have named, it's all on there.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of a mix of like rock, pop, and country from like the mid 1950s to the present day, because I grew up on all that stuff too, and everything y'all have named, I grew up listening to too, and I got a lot of it from my mom and dad also. And it's so great. It's probably one of my greatest pleasures as a teacher when I have a student who just randomly hears something playing on my speaker and they come up and ask me about it. You
Right.
know, it's happened with the Troubadour Blue song. It happened at the end of last year. I think I had Drinkin's Good playing. And so and they're like, who is that? I was like, oh, it's this group. I know them a little bit. They're great. One time I had a parent, I think I saw in the grocery store one time, who came up and said that their kid had discovered Hotel California through me. And I was like, I guess that's a good thing, I hope. Oh, that's great. So
Sorry.
that's good. Okay. You guys talked a little bit about your education. Just tell me a little bit about like what was high school like for you guys? What kind of students were you? And if you had any like favorite teachers or mentors or anybody like that. I know you already mentioned Tammy, who has obviously probably helped you guys out a lot as a teacher and a producer. But what was it like for you guys growing up?
Yeah, Brenna and Eli, what was school like for you?
I'll start. So we were both homeschooled all the way through high school,
Which is why Daniel's laughing.
which is why Daniel thinks that's funny.
Okay. I want
However,
my students to hear some of those perspectives. So that's
no, yeah. However, our parents put us in from a pretty early age into a tutorial. So we would meet with other homeschool families for once a week, and we would get sort of our upper level classes there. So like physics, chemistry, and stuff that our parents didn't have the expertise to teach us in. So we both had graduating classes of like 20 to 25. So we got my favorite teacher was my physics teacher, who she really instilled in me, because I went to school for business. So and it was hard. But she instilled in me, especially physics is tough, and you do one equation and it's the whole page, and I don't like that at all. And it's just like if you mess one little thing up. But she just instilled in us. She made us do hard things, and the payoff was such like I learned delayed gratification from her, because she made physics interesting and she put it into practice. She was like, this is how this affects your everyday life. And that's why you're doing these equations. And I think a good teacher brings that in, like what you're learning right now affects the rest of your life in different ways. And she was really good at that. So, and that stuck with me through college. Even when I was like, man, I don't see the application of applied calculus, even though it says applied. I was like, you know what, this is important, and because Miss Karen in high school said it's important, and that was enough for me to get through college in that way. And then also my guitar teacher growing up really fostered a love and care for precision and excellence. He wasn't necessarily super hard on me, but he was just like, if you're going to do it, it's worth doing really well. And we're going to sit here and do this song until you get it really well, because that's how we should approach every song. So that stuck with me as well. So right. Those are my answers.
Brenna, favorite teacher?
I have two as well as Eli. One of them was in college. Well, both of them were in college, actually. David Dark, we had to do freshman seminar, which was just like a bunch of freshmen in a room, just kind of talking and reading books and talking about the books. And he kind of just opened the floor for critical thinking and, hey, it's okay to say things, and then like, let's discuss it. Let's discuss why you think that, or, what this means to you. And I loved that. I loved hearing other people's thoughts on whatever we were reading or whatever event had just happened in the world. I thought that was really cool and interesting. And he would just kind of let us talk and then also guide us if he needed to. But I don't know, it just opened the floor for a lot of interesting conversations. And obviously Tammy's one of my favorite teachers, but another fiddle professor of mine, his name is Buddy Spiker. When he was my professor, I want to say he was in his late 70s. Um, just the sweetest man. He was part of the A team, B team in Nashville recording scene. So he was the first call for everybody for a fiddle player. Um, and he and I had such a special bond and friendship. And there was a time in my college career where I got into a really bad accident and I couldn't play for a couple of months. And it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, do I want to continue to do this? I'm just upset about everything. And I was gonna have to take off a semester of lessons. And I had texted him and he was like, well, just show up today at our normal time and we'll figure it out. And so I showed up and he was like, well, listen, you're the reason that I'm teaching this semester. So I'm okay to just sit here and talk. And I was like, okay, sure. And he kind of brought back my love of music. Because sometimes in college, when you're studying something, it just becomes a job and it's not as much fun as it used to be. And he just reminded me of like why I was doing it because I love music. And he would share stories that I was like, you were there? What in the world? This is crazy. So yeah, I love Buddy Spiker.
All right. Daniel, who are your favorites?
Um, I really have a lot of love in my heart for my high school career. Um, I will say first that I was a terrible student. I was such a bad student that I came into Belmont on academic probation. Like
Daniel.
they accepted me to the university, and at orientation, they were like the people at, I guess, whatever, the advising center. They're like, just so you know, because they sent me this letter that I got on my first day of orientation. They're like, your GPA was so low coming in here. You were here completely based on like talent, merit. That is why you were here. If you make below a 3.0 your first year at Belmont, we will kick you out. And I was like, oh God. But I my music teachers in middle school and high school, because my middle school orchestra teacher was also the high school orchestra teacher. And I mean, we were in Austin, like these are big 5A schools. It's just the timing happened to line up that when I went to high school, he also went to the high school. Um, but my music teachers, they cared so much. In Texas, especially in Central Texas, like high school football, high school sports are a really big deal. But in my school, Anderson High School, our rivals were Westlake and Lake Travis, which are like the 5A high schools where like Baker Mayfield went to high school and a bunch of the Texas and Baylor and TCU quarterbacks went to high school. So we were not the sports school. We had a football team. My friends played football. I played football in junior high, and I was a year younger than everyone in high school because in California the cutoff date for school is like late October, and my birthday is the end of September. So when I moved to Texas, I was like a year and a half younger than everyone. So when high school sports happened, I was puberty a year and a half younger than everyone. And I was like, I can't play defensive end. You're like 6'6" and you have a mustache.
They're gonna
like I
kill me.
can't. And you have tattoos. Like what? What do you mean? But topic. My music teachers, they made such an effort and they cared, and I mean, you understand this because we're doing this, but they would show up at 6:45 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and school started at 8:20, but they would be there on their own time, away from their own families, to come help me for all state choir because I was doing well and I was lucky enough to make all state, 2 times in high school, and it was a big deal and it helped me get into college. But they were there at 6:45 in the morning drilling French classical arias with me and like teaching me the German diction and all these things. And it was funny. My choir teachers were Mr. Ajarapu. He was an Indian guy from Chicago, and then Mr. Boisman. So it was Mr. A and Mr. B were my choir teachers.
Nice.
And I loved them, and we all loved them. And I ate lunch in the choir room. We all sat there, all the kids. And Mr. A he went to school for like bass performance and education. He played in all these like jazz fusion groups, and so he was always showing us bands and like Wilco and the Wallflowers and the Ramones and like other things. And he was a huge Beatles fan, so even just as musician, I learned a lot of critical listening hanging out with him during off periods, because he'd be like, listen to what George Harrison's doing on the Revolver record or whatever. And so it was really special, and I love thinking back on that time, and seeing, how teachers like yourself really gave so much of themselves to kids that were not their own, that they didn't need to. And it's so appreciated and has made such a huge impact on my life.
That's awesome to hear. I got one last question for you guys. You're going to have the ear of some teenagers and some students that are going to be listening to this. And my free version of Zoom tells me I've got 10 minutes left in this interview. So last question, what is one life lesson that you would pass on to students today? We'll put Eli on the spot first on this one. He looks like he's thinking of something good.
Oh gosh. Yeah, don't expect anything profound. One life lesson that I would pass on is, if you are here's my thought. If you're feeling low, feeling down about yourself, a pretty good way to take care of yourself is being of service to others. So if you can, it's pretty easy to find ways to serve others, even if it's volunteering, serving your family, serving your teachers or your classmates. I think it's more powerful than you think. And not only does it serve them, but it also is super good for the soul. So that would be one thing. If you're ever feeling like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what the next step is, maybe try service, and I think you won't be disappointed. So
good one. Daniel, what you got? What's one piece of advice?
It's twofold, but it's the same concept. One, people, in the best way, don't care about you. Like, when you feel that everyone's judging you and has opinions about you, they don't, because they're worried about themselves, because life is hard and they're concerned about themselves. They don't care about you. And it's a very freeing thing, and you should hold on to that. Two, if you have passions that you really believe in, you should chase them and be very diligent about them, but also know that you shouldn't take everything so seriously. That's one of my big regrets in my younger years, was that I pursued my passions so much that I had a lot of fun, but I was really focused on really working all the time. And I think I missed out on a lot of great memories with my friends, because I was at home learning, Zeppelin 3 or whatever. And it's important, just to not take everything so seriously. Brenna,
what's your one piece of advice?
Mine and Eli's parents always instilled in us, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And I believe that. If I wanted to be an astronaut, I think I could be an astronaut. If I want to be a lawyer, like, we are all capable of doing things. I think it comes down to how much you want it. And if being scared of failure is what's holding you back, then you should do it. Because while failure is scary, we're all capable of doing really cool and amazing things. So I would say, believe in yourself.
That is excellent advice from all three of y'all. And I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day to talk to me for a couple of minutes. I love you guys as a band. I love you as individual people. I hope very much after the first of the year, I can catch you guys on the road somewhere and come out to a show, because I really want to, first chance I get. So I will definitely be paying attention. For anybody else that's watching this, check out Troubadour Blue. Get on any streaming service you have. Get on iTunes, download their music, stream it, check them out, because I guarantee you will not be disappointed. It was fabulous getting to catch up with you guys. And I greatly appreciate you guys staying after school with Mr. Van Huss today to give this wonderful advice.
Of course. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for having us. We think what you're doing is wonderful. So, you know what? You're amazing.
Well,
that's true.
We're always happy to be a part.
Yeah.
Excellent.
To every student watching, you have the best teacher ever.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. And thank you guys for taking your time, and I hope to see you all soon.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. See
Bye.
you guys. Have a
Drew.
good
Bye.
Bye.